Hello and welcome to the Counterattack playthrough series. We're playing Barbarossa, Kiev to Rostov. This is the third installment of this playthrough series. We've played through the first two learning scenarios of the game, and now we're taking on a meteor scenario. It's going to be battle on the Sea of Azov. There's the Sea of Azov. And this is a fairly sizable scenario, much larger, much more complicated than those learning scenarios. It might actually be inappropriate for my format of small scenarios, but we'll go ahead and give it a try and see how it goes. So a lot more rules going on in this scenario compared to the learning scenarios. For one, we have new units, or new nationalities. We have in green here the Romanians. Way up here we have some Hungarians. There's some special rules for how they work, or I suppose the rules model how they don't work together. Spread throughout here are some hexagons with some +1 symbols in them. Those are strong points. That's one of the kinds of fortifications that are added to this scenario. Another kind of fortification is buried down here in the isthmus leading down to the Crimea. Let's see if we can find that. Yeah, there's like right in there. So yeah, that's a fortified line. Other new things, we have some heavy artillery. These are German heavy artillery units. Their movement's 0 right now because they're on their firing side. These units move very slowly, and they have to limber or unlimber by flipping over to their move or fire side. What else we have going on in this scenario? A few new unit types, motorcycle units. With some blown bridges here. I'll have to see what that means. Way up here, there's a bunch of units with these markers on them. These are garrison hexes. So units that are garrison and can't move until certain circumstances allow them to move. We have a lot of headquarters compared to the learning scenarios. There's also a headquarters down here. It's in non-operational mode, which is bad. Probably the biggest new addition to the rules is we're now tracing supply. We have to trace general supply. The full rules also have attack supply. Those are not taking part in this scenario. But their supply sources have gone ahead and marked where they are with my horrible rendering of a NATO supply symbol and an arrow pointing to the supply source. There's a few supply sources scattered along the edge of the board. So we'll see how those are going. So the situation here is the Axis forces have pushed into the Soviet Union here. It's really like the Ukraine region. And they've come up against solid defenses down here, going down into the isthmus towards Crimea. And then this looks like strong one anyway, defensive line here. And I believe the gist of the scenario is that the Soviets are required to counterattack this advance. So in order to win, basically for the Axis, they just have to prevent the Soviets from winning. So the Soviets are going to win or lose. They have two ways to win. Way number one is if they destroy a certain number of Axis steps, they win. I think it's 12, but I'll have to go look that up. The other way to win is much more complicated. First off, they have 4 mandated attacks they have to make. Those are special kinds of attacks. So we'll figure out what that is, but they have to make these 4 special attacks. In addition to that, they also have to hold on to 3, I'll call them major victory cities. I've marked them in red on the map here. And there's one here, and they have an exclamation point next to them. So here, you can't really see that far, so I'm not sure what it is. Another one over here. And then I think this is Melitopol down in here. So they have to hold all 3 of those, or they'll lose. Or I guess they can't win. And then I'll call them minor victory cities. There's 6 of them. They have to hold 3 of them. So there's one here. And then it kind of goes up in a line. I believe they're all under Axis control. It's a little vague who owns that one. I'm just going to say Axis based on where the Axis advance is. So we'll get started here. I might convert over to sort of a summary of action if this just gets way too slow for the format of my videos. We'll see. Okay, so right now it is turn 48 for the scenario. It's the first turn. And we're starting on the Soviet turn, so we're skipping the strategic segment and the Axis player segment. It's September 24th to the 25th in 1941, and we're starting with the Soviet motorized movement phase. So let's go in and zoom in on, I suppose, this area. Now I kind of stared at the map a long time. I'm a little overwhelmed with what to do, but then I realized there's not that many units. There's a lot of strong points, but not a lot of Soviet units. So motorized movement for the Soviets, that is, they get to move motorized units, and cavalry at half. So I'm thinking this Romanian 4th Mountain might be a good guy to attack because there's already some infantry next to it. Here's a strong point here, which is defensive only. So these are two strong Soviet units. Since they have a defense value of 5 or greater, then they are 3-step units. If you have 8 or greater, it's a 4-step unit. So we have that. So I think we're going to go ahead and activate this guy. So he can go his full movement allowance. Unfortunately, he can't like squeeze back here to try to get like a zone of control back here. I should remind myself though what kind of terrain this is here. Sort of the grassy, wet stuff. That is swamp. Looks like motorized units are prohibited in dry weather, and the scenario's weather is fixed at dry. Non-motorized cost 3 to move in there. Just trying to think of how I can get like units back here. So I guess we'll just move this guy up. So his stacking value is 1. What do we have here? Wait, that guy's stacking value is 5. So I guess we'll put him over here. That'll give us 2 5s. Okay, just moving in there. Now back here we have a headquarters, and I think there's some stuff stacked within it. Oh yeah, here's a motorized unit. Pull that guy out. So you can go 5. So I guess I'll go down this main road, I think it's called. Yeah, main road. Half, 1. And then what do we have here? We have a minor road. That is a half when there's no terrain. So 1.5. And then we'll cross over to this terrain, get off across the road. So that's 2.5, and then 3.5 for the enemy zone of control. So I'm just going to stack it here. I don't know if the rules say you have to put your units under the strong points. We'll just assume like they're always underneath if that rule is the case, but I'm just going to say it doesn't matter right now. Okay, so we also have some more motorized back here. See, I'm not sure if I should be keeping these guys in the back to do like reaction movement, but I think since the Soviets are supposed to be attacking, we're just going to pile on here. So half, 1, 1.5, 2. Is there a road in there? Nope. So 2.5. And that would be 3.5, 4.5. I only have 4 movement, but I can slide down here for 1.5. So that'd be good. Can I fit? I have horrible memory. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So yeah, we can fit him in there. Let's get in a big stack going here. And what's nice is there's some artillery already positioned here. What else do we have? I think in that region that's all we have. But we also have some cavalry down near Melitopol. So this seems like a critical spot because there's some pretty strong German forces in the area. I mean, this is a 4-step German unit, 7 strength, 9 on the defense. This stack of German units here has an 8, 9, so these things are pretty tough. So this one, this is new. It actually has a step loss, so it's hard to read this even in person here. But it's gives -2 to attack and defense. So this guy's down to 3 steps, and so he's really a 6/7, but still pretty tough. And then, of course, we have Romanians here. So anyway, Melitopol does have someone that could move. This cavalry unit here, but I'm thinking I need to keep it here, because if the Germans attack here, and I'm not really sure what the deal is, but if I was the Germans, I might want to attack here to try to take that hex. I want to keep it here so it can react, so we won't do that. Now, the other region where we have some potential units for movement is down here for the Crimea. I don't know what this isthmus is called, but this isthmus going down to the Crimea. So we got some cavalry here, and I think buried under this artillery, where was it? Somewhere in here is like a motorized unit. Yeah, there. But we have a non-operational headquarters. That's set up by scenario instructions, but they can also go non-operational if basically they get attacked. They just get messed up. So when it's on its non-operational side, there's tons of limitations within its command range. For example, during the movement phase, I can move, this is like its recovery value 2. I can move recovery value -1 units per movement phase. So at most, 1 unit within this command radius can move during a particular movement phase. That's pretty lousy. There's a bunch of other things. It can't issue orders. It can't issue reaction orders during the reaction phase, that kind of thing. And it's pretty difficult to flip back to its operational side. Basically, during the end phase, I have to, or the interphase, I have to roll equal to or less than this 2 on a 10-sided die. Or I think I can disband it and then it's just gone. Might be better to do that. But anyway, so I think we'll just leave these guys here. I could theoretically move this guy up into this. Maybe I should do that since I can move up to 1 unit. So he can move at half movement. Maybe I'll just do a minimum move into this stack just to make it tougher. Or I could move into here. He's not going to be able to react. So maybe we'll just move up here. Let me see what the movement cost of a fortified line is. Interesting. So it doesn't say it's only for the enemy. So it costs 1 to cross a fortified line. And then this is a town, so it doesn't matter. So to move up there would be 1, 2 for the fortified line, 3 into the town, plus enemy zone of control. So he can't even get up there. So maybe we'll move from here then. Can we stack there? Yes. Okay. That is the Soviet motorized movement phase. Okay, Soviet attack declaration phase. We're back up where the main attack was being made, getting ready anyway. So what town is this? This is Balki. So yeah, we want to attack Balki. So I'll go ahead and put an attack marker there. That's the only attack we're going to declare. And we're going to declare this one of our mandated attacks. So I looked that up. Basically, a mandated attack has to have 6 steps at any odds attack, or 3 to 2 odds any number of steps. So it doesn't seem very tough to do. So definitely have that. We're like 3 to 1 odds at the moment, ignoring like artillery and things like that. Yeah, so that's going to be a mandated attack, and the rules basically say like when the battle actually takes place, you don't have to attack with the units you are designating. So I'm designating all these units here. For a typical battle, it says for a mandated attack you have to stick with them. So in that case, I feel like these arrows actually have some meaning. So maybe we'll do it like this, even though the rules say put it on the target. Obviously, if I'm only doing 1 attack, it doesn't matter. But I want to be able to say like, you know, these guys have arrows on top of them indicating they are part of a mandatory attack. Okay, so that is our attack declaration. Now to see if the Germans react. Well, the Germans do have an eligible defender that can react. This unit here. It looks like it's armored artillery. I'm going to say that's sort of like Stug's, the assault guns, that's my guess. Has no zone of control. So it could react into here. Has to be within 3 hexes. It is. It doesn't have to move in here, but it can react and seems to be positioned to sort of help the Romanians. So I think I don't want those Romanians to be obliterated there, so maybe I'll react it in. I want to make sure though, can the Germans stack with Romanians? I'm guessing yes. Yes, so Germans and Romanians can stack and fight together. The restrictions are that the Romanians and Hungarians will not work together. And then there's also apparently a Slovakian unit that has some issues as well. So I think we're going to go ahead and have this guy react in. 1, 2, 3. It can go half its movement allowance, so that'd be 3.5, so it's going 1, 2, 3. And when you're reacting into a defender's hex, you can ignore the zone of control movement cost. Okay, so there we go there. Not sure if this is a good idea or not. Okay, now for the combat. So the first step is combat air support missions. Now the Axis have, looks like 5 bombers, 2 fighters, and a dummy air unit available. So I'm going to pick some Axis units that I think would be good to commit. Actually, but the Soviets go first. They have 2 fighters and a bomber available. So, and a dummy air unit. So, I'm a little worried if they send units in, the Germans are just going to blow them out of the sky, but then I don't want the Germans sending like 3 bombers in to defend. So I think they're going to commit 2 fighters and a bomber. We'll just go ahead and throw them in here. German player doesn't know what they are. The Germans, I'm going to go ahead and pick what I would do as the Germans, not pretending I don't know what's coming in. Okay, let's see what we have here. So the Soviets flew in their 2 fighters with a bomber. And so now that they reveal this, they declare this is the mission unit. And I suppose they get to see the Germans as well. Germans did the same thing, 2 fighters and a bomber. Pretty good bomber. It's got 2 combat air support, since how most of them seem to have 1. Okay, so time for air combat. So we're going to roll on the air initiative table first to see if the Germans can even intercept the Soviets. So yeah, I guess their fighters are attempting to intercept the Soviet units. Okay, we rolled a 2. That is Axis initiative. So that just means they get to designate the targets first. You must allocate units 1 at a time, 1 to 1, starting with firing units. So So for example, this fighter, which is the best German fighter, can pick a target, but it cannot be a mission aircraft if there are firing aircraft available. So I think it's going to go up against the best Russian fighter. Then their other fighter can't go against the bomber either, so it'll go against this, and then the bombers just kind of hang out and see what happens. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and fire. Now this is different from the prior scenario I played where there was never fighter-to-fighter engagement. So now both sides get to fire at each other. So we'll start with the German Bf-109F attacking the MiG-3, and then we'll do the MiG-3 attacking the Bf-109F. So 4 minus 2 is plus 2 on the air combat table. I'm not going to show you what it looks like. I've shown it in prior video. So plus 2, I rolled a 1 on the air combat table, so that is destroyed. So this guy's destroyed. And then 2 minus 4 is -2, so the Soviets rolling on the -2 column. Rolled a 6, no effect, so he's destroyed. And goes into the destroyed box on the Soviet card. And then this guy will just hang out for a second. Now, this Bf-109E, 3 minus 1 is again +2. Wow, rolled a 1, so destruction. Now this guy is 1 minus 2, that's a -1, or 1 minus 3, so that's a -2. Wow, I'm on a roll here. I am shaking the die. That's a 1 as well. So 1 on the -2 is a D that is damaged. So the German is damaged. The Soviet is destroyed. Okay. If, when I rolled for air initiative, if the Germans had gained Axis local tactical advantage, this fighter could then target this bomber in another round of combat, but they did not get that, so it flies back to the flown box. So now both bombers have made it in. Their fighters protected both squadrons. So now they have to undergo anti-aircraft fire. We'll go ahead and start with the Germans, I guess, and then do the Soviets. All these units, collectively are anti-aircraft capable. There are no dedicated anti-aircraft units in there, though. So just like, intrinsic to whatever units are fighting here. Okay, so we'll roll for the Ju-87. I do not know what's going on. I rolled another 1. So that's a 1. You need to roll 7 or less for no effect. That's no effect. But let's see, just what I would see, I would subtract 1 if firing at a Ju-87. So I guess because it's a dive bomber, it's harder to shoot down, maybe? Something like that. And that looks like the only modifier, so I rolled a 0 basically. So he is made it into the battle. Now the Axis firing on the SB. This is just ridiculous. I rolled another 1. So that's 5 out of 6 ones. I need to go to Vegas. So he's also made it. Okay, so that is combat air support. There'll be 1 combat air support point for the Soviets and 2 for the Germans. So let's go ahead and conduct the attack. Axis are going to allocate 18th Army artillery, which is in range. It's got a range of 2. It's going to contribute 2 strength points to the attack. I don't know if I said Axis. I think I did Soviets. So let's check out this mandatory attack here. So we have 7 going in here. We have, so I'll put this at the bottom here. Plus 6 is 13, plus 3 is 16, plus 3 is 19, plus 2 is 21, plus 1 is 22 attack. Then let's see here, defense, we have 6 defense. We're in looks like a town. So let me see what a town is on the combat results table, or the terrain chart, I should say. Nothing. So in dry weather anyway. So 22 to 6 plus 2 is 8. So the 3 to 1 odds that I thought I was initially attacking with is now 2 to 1. That's okay. So normally I would have a combined arms bonus here because I have armor attacking with infantry, but this armored artillery, which I guess, yeah, like I said, I think it's like assault guns, has red combat factor there, which means it's armored, so it cancels the combined arms bonus. So let's go ahead and take care of this. That's 2 to 1 with no die roll modifiers, I believe. Rolled a 3. Defender takes 1 step loss. Just gonna do a quick scan here. to see if there's anything I'm missing. You know, I might be doing combat air support totally incorrectly. Let me take a step back. Yeah, totally wrong. I don't know. Only took me 8 videos of this game to figure that out. I guess I just kind of assumed, so that's pretty bad. These do not get added to the combat strengths of the units engaged. They are die roll modifiers. So let's do that again. I said this is 22. It's actually 21 with a die roll modifier of -1. 21 to 6. So it's 3 to 1 odds. And these guys have a die roll modifier, since they're a defender, of +1. So the net die roll modifier is, +2. So the net die roll modifier is +1. So it's 3 to 1 +1. Okay, so I'll keep the die roll I did. So I rolled a 3. On the 3 to 1 +1, that goes to a 4, of course. 1, 1. So the Axis still take a hit, but the attackers take a hit as well. Okay, so let's process let's get these planes back to their base. Going to the flown box of each nation's air chart. Okay, so these guys need to take a step loss. I think the Romanians are going to take it. And they're a 3-step unit because they have a 5 defense factor. So we'll go ahead and throw this in here. Now they're going to be substantially weakened. There'll be a 2 attack, 3 defense. But I like having this guy for tactical reasons, you know, for the being able to react and stuff like that. Okay, so the Soviets, what do they want to do? They could do something similar, but I kind of like having those powerful infantry units in here. Well, what is this guy? Is he just going to be dead? Yeah, he'd be dead. Maybe we'll get oh, they're all single step units in here. Well, guess we'll take this infantry and add a step loss to it. Okay, well, that was the attack. A little lackluster result for all that work. But, you know, that's what it is. Okay, so now it's time for the Soviet movement phase. This is where all units get to move, but motorized, since they already moved full movement, only get to move half movement. So what do we want to do with this same grouping of units? So I kind of like to be attacking this guy at some point too. Now, since the Soviet attack drew this guy in, so maybe if he sticks there, then we can just pile a bunch of guys on here. Well, let's see. It'd be nice if this guy can infiltrate here, but you can't do that on the Soviet movement phase. So I think we're just gonna see what happens here. We're gonna throw this guy here. I don't want to put him here because if I ever decide to attack here, he would also have to attack this guy. So I think I'll just pile on here, kind of leaving these pretty weak defenses here. They still have to be attacked. I guess it's more of like a moving, you know, you spend movement to take them, I believe, but that might be a poor choice what I'm doing there, but I'm just trying to pile some guys on here. And then maybe this guy has 2.5 movement points left. He'll go 1, 2, and what do we have here? Yeah, maybe all this armor will just like fall back a little so it can react. Yeah, that's a strong point. I'll go ahead and cover it back up now that the attack's over. So yeah, I'll put these guys back here so they can react. They're within headquarters range. It's only a 1-point headquarters, so I guess I'm imagining they can do more than it can really do. I can only react with 1. You know, one thing I forgot to do with this headquarters, that's pretty lame. I could have moved this infantry. You can order, during the motorized movement phase, an extra unit to move. Oh well, we'll take care of that later. So this guy, he would have been nice to pile on to that attack I did. I think instead, now that I'm leaving it kind of weak down here, maybe he'll come down here and go 1, 1.5, 2.5 to enter this strong point. I better check my movement rules for strong points before I cheat again. Strong point +1, but only if it's an enemy. So I'm good there. Okay, so he's here, kind of preventing any negative action from going on there. So what do we have going on around the map here? So over here we got lots of strong points and no one in them. We have some garrison units that can't move. We do have a bunch of guys up here. What do we want to do with them? So it's not a lot of Axis units up here, but it does make me nervous here. What is this place? This is Zaporozhye, maybe? Something like that. So yeah, let's set some things up here. So we got a decent unit in that city here for defense. It's got a anti-aircraft unit here. Let's see, we have some NKVD here. You know, I think I want to pull them back. 1, and then move them back into here because they can issue, they are in a city, they act as a permanent no retreat order. So I like that. Then we'll move this guy down here. Just afraid of these Hungarians trying to cross. What about this guy here? Yeah, maybe he'll move up here. I don't know. I might be afraid of nothing here. One thing I know is that the first 4 turns of the game, and I'm counting this as 1 turn, there's just a trickle of Soviet reinforcements. But on the 5th turn, there's a very large number of German reinforcements. It's like 8 or 10 units. 2 of them are Panzer divisions, so hard to say where, you know, what's going to happen, but maybe keeping this key crossing spot protected and the bridges not being able to be rebuilt is a good thing. Speaking of bridges, the bridges are blown there. Units can try to rebuild bridges, but they have to not have an enemy on the other side of the bridge, so the Hungarians cannot build those bridges. Okay, so what else we got going on this map that we want to move? I think we're going to keep the area of Melitopol as is. 1 unit can move here in the Crimea area, or whatever that isthmus is. I think it's just going to stay as is. So I guess that ends the Soviet movement phase. We'll go ahead and enter the Soviet engineering phase. Well, there's not really anything for them to do during the Soviet engineering phase because the rules do not allow new strong points to be rebuilt, which is something you would do. You can't do any railroad. We're not allowed to use railroads other than, you know, treat them as like a railroad bridge or whatever. You can't, in other words, destroy them or rebuild them or move on them or convert them. So I guess there's nothing to do in this scenario during this phase. Yeah, it's quite possible we can rebuild bridges, but there's no eligible bridges at the moment. So then we go to the Soviet surrender phase. And I'm looking at the scenario instructions. It doesn't say don't play it, so I guess we're playing it. Yep. Okay, so all Soviet units need to be able to trace to a major city. So major cities are in red text, and I thought Melitopol was in red. Yeah, it's in red. That's a major city. I think that's true what I'm saying. It also has some dense terrain. So I guess actually it's a city according to the coloration here. So I'll just double check that surrender phase. And then up here is Zaporozhye is also have red text, and it is also at least a city. Yeah, it's a city. So we'll just say the Soviets are not surrendering, but I'm going to go double check. Yeah, it's actually major city or port or supply source hex. And you only need to check it really if you have like units that are cut off and next to enemy units. So yeah, none of them are going to surrender. So then we go into the game turn interface. So we're moving to the next turn. It will start with the German turn on the next turn. And I get to decide what to do with this headquarters down here. Do I disband it or do I try to get it operational? I've rolled so many ones. I'm rolling. Look, it's moving. Got a 6, so it's still not operational. Oh well, I'm a gambler. And oh, I forgot. Let's go check out some bookkeeping over here. We did do one mandated attack, so there's the mandated attacks not yet made marker. So I guess maybe it goes here. I want to get down to 0, so we did 1. And then we have Axis step losses are at 1. I forgot to mark that. So the Axis have taken a step loss. So it is 12 step losses required for victory under the step loss victory. So we're 1/12 of the way there. I don't see getting there, but who knows. All right, so sorry if this is a little awkward to demonstrate because of the size of the map. But we'll see how it goes. Thanks for watching.